Okay, here's test 2, I guess it is. So I reprogrammed the controller a bit, slowed the actions down on everything. I added a little bit more time for the smoke. I still think I need to extend the time, the action sequence a little bit longer, but I'll have to figure that part out later. Alright, so the smoke's a little bit better. The eyes are kind of more blinking now. I used to just have them solid. It's easy to change, I guess, either way though. So let's, I'll show you what's inside here. Let's unplug everything. So the PIR sensor I still have in the back there. So what I did, I installed new speakers on the inside. So these are actually going to be my extension wires. So I'm just going to add to these 3 wires for the PIR sensor because it's obviously not going to stay there. But it's pretty tight with the speakers in there. I'll show you what I mean. So still a little bit of smoke here. Get my key. So this is one of the locks I got off of eBay. I thought it was actually pretty cool. I think it was like, I don't know, $8, but I think it adds a lot to the effect, just for what I like. So it's all the same chain that's all around. So how I have the chains, they're just on U-bolts in the back, there and there on the base of the frame. Also on the sides, so this can move around quite a bit. It's not actually attached to the bottom of the box. So this is actually going to keep it on the platform, and it's spray painted black just so it'll kind of more hide it at night. So it's not really going to be a huge part of it. And then the same thing, the U-bolts in the front, here and here, and then just attach the quick link here to be able to open up the lid a little bit easier. Let's see. All right. Swing up and above, and oh, there's all the smoke from the smoke machine. So once that clears out, we'll be able to get a good look. So got a new chain stop for the lid. I had a little plastic one on there before, and it just ripped right off after opening and closing it a few times. So the back end, also the hinges. So you can see the hinges screwed here to the top. And that's just on this little one by here that's on the back. So what happened is my son, he's going to be actually 2 years old this week, but he opened it really hard, and it didn't have the chain that it has on there now that's stopping it, and it actually ripped this whole one by off. So now I have just the carriage bolts in there. It's a lot more solid, so now I'm not worried about anybody ripping it off. So that's great. Inside the box, so these are the new speakers. So I don't know if you remember in my last video, I was having a problem with the sound. It wasn't loud enough. You couldn't really hear it through the chains or anything, the growl for the action or the ambient. So these are the old speakers I took out. These are just pretty large, actually, computer speakers. But even all the way up on these, it wasn't quite loud enough with the 4-banger programmed on volume 30. So now I actually had to dial it down for these little bit larger speakers. I'm not sure what the wattage is on this because it doesn't tell me for some reason. It's actually from a Sharper image stereo, which I picked up the whole thing at Goodwill for I think $6 or $7. So $6.99 because I guess the cassette doesn't work, but all I wanted it for was the speakers. So it sold as all in one piece, and they just kind of attach to the sides. So what I did is I just ripped it off, and actually I took apart a Siren that I bought at Goodwill also for $40, and I just used the amplifier for it. I ripped it out. I did actually install the Siren here originally, but the sound, it was very loud, but just the sound wasn't very good at all. It wasn't deep for the growl. It was just kind of a really high pitch sound, and I didn't like it. So I ripped it apart, and now the amplifier is actually now sitting here. So it's just a little tiny amplifier, which is, I mean, throws out a lot of power, as you can hear, because it's just still hooked up to the MP3 player, hanging here, which I have to do something with, but so hanging here for now, hooked up to Mike North's 4-banger, but now it's actually dialed down to volume 20 because it's way too loud on volume 30. So really good amplifier. But here's all the plugs. So these are all the plugs that are hooked up to the 4-banger. So I have one that is set up for each air cylinder. Air cylinder for the lid, air cylinder for the base, and then I have one for the LED lights also on there. The fourth one here, so that fourth one I actually disconnected it, so the programmer, I don't know if we can get any light here, you can't really see the relays, but so relay 1, 2, 3 all have a jumper for the power. It originally had the fourth one also, but I took it off because I actually wired the smoke machine, their smoke machine remote to it. So you can kind of see the wires there. Don't have a lot of light in this thing. So the wires there, so that's actually the remote. And this is just, so you can see the button maybe in the front there. But so this is just coming out of the side of it. So I just filed it down and just gonna run, and I just ran 2 wires from the remote up to the relay. So the relay just turns it on and off now, which is great. And the remote's a wired remote, so it's easy to do. The smoke machine just stays plugged in to one of these plugs here. So these are my constant power. So these will always stay on. So one is powering the amplifier. One is powering the controller, which is this one. This is the power to the controller. Sorry, power to the controller, power to the relays. This one's for the smoke machine, and this one is for the amplifier now that I have for the other large speakers. So you can see everything else hooked up. So my solenoid. Oops. So here is my solenoid for the lid. So up very close to the lid, not all the way up. So these are actually just furniture, like table rubber stoppers, or table feet, I guess you would call them. And what I did is I just actually drilled a hole in them. I don't know if you can see it. Probably can't see it. So I just drilled a hole in them, and just actually kind of threaded it on almost. I don't even have a bolt on there, but what I did is I drilled out the bottom, because it's a lot thicker on the bottom, and put the bolt there, and it seems to actually just be sticking fine. There's not that much pressure on it. So this is some just aluminum I made for the bracket, because I didn't buy the cylinder with brackets. So I just made my own bracket for there. So just 2 angle brackets, screwed on with some screws, threaded screws. So there's actually nuts holding them on, so it's a little more secure. Pretty large stainless steel nut that holds them on. Stainless steel is the only thing I can get to fit over these cylinders, but keeps it really tight, and it works great. So that's one of them. You can see one of the solenoids there. So one of those is, there we go. So there's one of them there. So here's the line. So this one I actually have a flow control valve over for the lid, because I didn't want it to have too much power. I didn't want it to have the same power as the bass, because obviously the bass is pushing a lot more weight, so I wanted a little bit more to run through there. This is pretty heavy duty stuff, which is really pointless. You don't need this heavy duty. I mean, these are stainless steel push-on sleeves, which is, I mean, really overkill. I just got it from a hydraulic place that happened to be open and had what I needed, and I just got it. So anyway, plastic will be totally fine. I'm only running about 40-45 psi on these. Second solenoid here, second solenoid there. Same thing. So I made my own bracket for the bottom also, as you can see, just out of aluminum. I mean, pretty easy stuff. It does have the same thing on the bottom, a stainless steel nut. Has the rubber stopper on there for it also. I just raised this up off the base a little bit because, I mean, I needed room for the bolt and everything else to get kind of where I wanted to push it up. So just the threads coming from the bottom. So I mean, also super solid. So I'm glad I'm just able to make my own. There, it turned out really great. So, and that's about it. So this thing's pretty loud. My wires are still a little bit messy. There's a lot of extra speaker wire. So all the red and white you see there, it's all just extra speaker wire. A lot of long, just plug wires there. The only thing would be a little, oh, and here's actually the LED. So this is how I ran the smoke machine. So tiny little smoke machine. I think it's a 400 watt, 700 watt, something like that. 700 watt, I guess. So it's just PVC. So it's not actually touching the front. It might look like it, but it's not touching the front. It's just slightly spaced, maybe, I don't know, half an inch, away from it. Obviously, you have to move those wires. Didn't notice that in the way. And then just running up a little elbow, coming out of the velvet. So velvet just stapled on the back. So when you look in the bars here, so that's actually where the LED eyes are, right there and right there. Just cut a little hole, and that's what this piece of wood is here. Just a little mounting plate for the LED lights. So you can see the LEDs wired up there. So I'm just running the two LEDs, and I think I'm running it off of a 6 volt, which seems like almost too much power for the LEDs. But I mean, I'm not even using a resistor or anything because they seem to be working fine. And I think it's a 680 ohm resistor, and installed it originally, and it didn't even do anything. It's too much resistance. I think I really needed 120 ohm resistor, but they seem to be working fine. I have a bunch of LEDs if these burn out, but I mean, it's working great. So I just drilled out, hot glued in there, just a long enough piece of wood there so I can screw it to the base here and not have a problem. The PVC for the smoke, same thing, just drill holes, have a clamp on there, pretty simple. It's not really going to move around really at all, so I mean, it's pretty solid, don't need much there. I do have a couple air holes in this also. I mean, I don't know how hot the amplifiers get. I don't think they really get too hot at all, because this thing was all enclosed in the Siren I took it out of. So hopefully that'll be okay. But yeah, seems like everything's running great so far, and I'm actually really happy with how it came out. So maybe a little couple tweaks to the program, and we'll call it good. All right, thanks all for watching. Thanks.